A lot of poker players, especially beginners, would like to bluff more, but they struggle to find the right spots. So today I have two examples that I would like to show you, both played at 1-2 at the Empire Casino in London. So in this first example, we raise ace-10 offsuit in the low jack. We get called by the button and the big blind. The flop comes pretty ugly with a queen 9-8 rainbow. This hits their ranges very well actually. So at this point there is nothing for me to do than to check despite my gut shot and ace high. But it checks through. Now we get another queen here, and this changes things a little bit. Because now it's less likely that someone has a really strong hand, or if they do, and this is the crucial bit here, if they do, we will hear from them pretty soon. So this guy here in the big blind, I classified him as a beginner tag. He knows what he's doing, but I can tell he's not very experienced, but probably a little studied. So when he checks here, I think that this kind of a player does not have a lot. He has what we call a capped range. If he had a queen or something better than a queen, he would now most likely lead out after the flop checked through. So now I go for not a continuation bet, but I go for a bet here on the turn. I go for 2/3, and the button gets out of the way, and the big blind calls. Now remember what I just said. If he had a really big hand, he would most likely have led out this turn, and even if not, he would probably, or let's say very likely, raise here now over my bet. So on the river, now, yeah, you could say this is a scare card because it completes a straight, but basically all it completes is 5-6 here, because Jack 10 would already have been a flopped straight, which means that this is basically a blank here. And when the big blind checks again, I will now definitely have to bet. The question is how much. Maybe even something like 3/4 pot would get it through here, but at this point I just think that the big blind has such a capped range that he most likely doesn't have anything really good here. He might have a 9 or an 8, or maybe counterfeit 8-9, 9-7, 8-7, something like that. So I just decided to go for a big bet here, which I think wouldn't even have been necessary in hindsight, but I overbet the pot, and with this I'm basically saying I have a straight or a queen here, and he mucked his hand. So this was a result here, although as I said, in hindsight I think something like 50-55 would probably get the job done as well. In this second hand, the bluff didn't go to plan, but bear with me, even though it might be a bit controversial, I think the concept is still valid. So we have a straddle under the gun. It's a straddle, that's not a raise. We open King Jack suited in the low jack, loosey-goosey hijack calls, small blind calls, straddle calls, onto a four-way flop where we have flush draw. It checks to us. I think we should check behind here in such a multi-way flop. And loosey-goosey hijack now bets 50 into 62. The other two players go out of the way. We have nothing else here but a call. Just thinking about his range, what could he have here? Well, he could have a flush draw himself, or he has some hand that really needs protection. Something like a queen, most likely. Possibly even tens or nines or something like that, where he thinks he has the best hand. He needs protection. That's why he puts in the big bet. Right, I call on the turn. Now it's a very interesting card. It's the ace, and he now checks. Of course, the ace could have hit him if he has the ace-high flush draw and he's now slowing down, but more likely than that, I think he has something like queen-jack, king-queen, queen-10, where he now doesn't need to protect anymore because he might already be behind. So when he checks, I think I already have good chances of taking the spot away. Obviously, I still hope to hit my club, which I don't do. We get a complete brick on the river. And now the question comes, do we give up or do we bluff here? Now, because we have a missed flush draw, GTO will recommend to just give up here. However, exploitatively, I just think this is something to go for now, just because of the ace there. The ace didn't necessarily hit our range much more than his range. However, given that he bets so big on the turn, the only time when an ace really on the flop, sorry, not on the turn, the only time when the ace really hits him is if he has ace queen, because he wouldn't have bet ace 5 or ace 7 that big. So the ace really does help us more than him. For example, if I had ace jack of clubs here instead of king jack, this is exactly the play that I would make now, which is to bet fairly big here and hope that he would pay me off with a queen. In this case, obviously, I hope that he will fold a queen. And so I went and bet 115 into 162. This is about 2/3 pot here, and it's a pretty big bet just in terms of monetary value because it's over 100, and this should scare him away. And I think it would have worked against the queen here. However, we ran into a hand that I would never have expected here, 7-5 offsuit,